Now, luckily, over the years, I have been able to reduce the canine chaos so much that I never get to this point any longer, thankfully. Thankfully, right? But it did take me a lot of time to figure out what worked, what didn't work, and how best to keep the peace more abundant than the chaos. So I'm hoping by discussing this with you today, I can give you the shortcuts to calming the chaos so that you can experience more peace more often, like I do. This is the Dog Sitter's House podcast. Welcome back to the Dog Sitter's House podcast, furry friend lovers. I appreciate you being here. It's actually getting pretty cold here today, and we're finding ourselves indoors a lot more often than being outside again, unfortunately. In the summertime, it is so nice, or spring, fall, you name it. Whenever it's warm enough, I have these French doors and we can just open both of them wide open and let the dogs go in and out. It's so amazing. It gives so much freedom to all of us, and they love it. We love it. And unfortunately, now it's cold and we can't open the French doors. So we're grieving that a little bit right now. But as a home-based dog sitter who boards and provides daycare in your home, you probably know as well as I do that being indoors usually means a little bit more canine chaos. Like, the canine chaos actually begins to increase. Even in the summertime when the pack is outside, it can get crazy though, doesn't it? You can have dogs playing chase, creating complete chaos with everybody barking and chasing each other, which usually leads to dogs snapping at each other, one or two of them at least, right? You might have dogs showing toy aggression, digging holes in your yard, barking every other minute. And, this doesn't even include the times when dogs are arriving and departing. And, if you have a traditional warehouse style boarding and daycare facility, then it's no problem, right? It's a lot easier during arrivals and departures because the dogs that are already under your care typically cannot see the comings and goings at your facility. But when you do this from your own home, the canine chaos can get pretty stressful, pretty crazy, and make you dread that popular drop-off time and pickup time because it's just constant, going in and out of the door, dogs going barking, dogs going wild, scratching at the doors, jumping at the gates. It's just chaos, total chaos, right? Then you have the fun part of also introducing dogs to each other, which is, you may have realized, like I did pretty early on, it's a shot in the dark as to how each dog's going to handle each other, how it's going to go, because, not every dog gets along, right? A dog may do great meeting 1, 2, even 3 of the dogs in your care, but for some reason, unbeknownst to us humans, that 4th dog that you bring out to say hello is the nemesis. Immediately, it's their nemesis. So for some reason, certain dogs just seem to, right? I mean, I know there's a lot of things that go behind it, and you usually end up figuring it out. One of them's trying to establish dominance right away while the other one's not accepting it. And they kind of have this little, silent war between each other with these tiny little cues that they give one another until one eventually establishes it and the other one subsides, or submits to it. And so you just have to be careful. You have to be watch out for those sort of things. But you also have to have a balance between allowing dogs to establish their position in the pack, allow dogs to have a voice to say, leave me alone. That's not acceptable, So it's a balance between the two, because you don't want to just completely shut down their innate behavior and communication. You just want to be able to support it, almost like a coach from the sidelines, right? You just want to support them and guide them into more positive and healthy situations and communication styles with each other. So this can obviously be a very stressful and chaotic time during your day when you're introducing dogs. And if you don't do it right, it actually can bleed into the rest of your day, because if the dogs still haven't worked it out amongst each other, the two that aren't, didn't quite get along from hello, if they haven't worked that out, then it's so easy for them to just, I don't know, accidentally bump into the other one. And before you know it, a full-on fight has begun. So we really want to make sure we get, the canine chaos lowered to a level that we don't have to deal with that kind of stuff. And we can make sure everybody stays safe, of course, right? Then you have those dogs who have severe separation anxiety. And I mean the kind that are crying, that high pitch whine that's like nails on a chalkboard every time you run to the bathroom or try to put a load of laundry in because it's piling up to the ceiling already. I mean, unfortunately, you don't know you have one of these cases typically until the parents leave and it's too late, right? And so you're stuck with it. But once you know, you can't unknow. And so you know for the future. But at least the first time, what happens is when that dog is so anxious that every single time you leave the room, or even if you're in the room, they can be highly excitable and just on edge. It causes the entire pack to be on edge and behave erratically. And, often a lot of times other dogs in the pack might want to calm the anxious dog down and tell it, like, hey, chill out, dude. It's like all is good, right? Chill. Because in the wild, I mean, this is something that's just completely innate in a lot of dogs, and you cannot train it out of them, because truth is they are still biologically 99.9% wolf when it comes to these sort of things. And in the wild, what a wolf pack would do, if you've ever studied this, wolves will literally fight, bite, kill sometimes another member in their pack if they don't calm down, if they're causing too much chaos, because they are a threat to the pack. They're making themselves known to predators around them, and they could end up causing the entire pack to be in danger. Sometimes they might just leave them. They might tell them to get out of my pack. You can't stay in this pack anymore, right? And that's what dogs are going to do. If we have a dog in our house that is extremely anxious, extremely excitable, like easily excited, another dog can easily start to tell that dog, hey, chill, yo, it's all good. And I'm gonna, threaten to fight you if you don't back down or if you don't chill out. And this could, of course, end up in a dog fight breaking out, right? So again, leading to more canine chaos, which is what we want to avoid, prevent, and stop from happening just altogether, right? Being a certified holistic health coach in my previous life and having had to find a way to cure brutal 5 to 10 day, literally 10-day long migraines for myself without the use of pharmaceuticals, because those just didn't work for me. I know firsthand the effects your cortisol spiking dozens of times a day can have on your physical and mental well-being. And having a dog full of anxiety in your house 24/7 spikes your cortisol multiple times a day. Having dogs snapping at each other, having dogs barking constantly, having dogs running around, just chasing each other, even just like having dogs that are high energy, all of that can spike your cortisol dozens of times a day and have a major effect on your well-being. And obviously, this is not a good thing, and it's definitely not something a body can sustain for the long term. This is why it is so crucial for home-based dog sitters to calm the canine chaos. If not, the effects on your health and really anyone else in the home's health, along with the increased risk of dog fights, could eventually literally take you out of business. And that's why I thought that this was such an important topic to cover, because your health and every dog's safety should be the utmost importance in this line of work. I remember when I started to become fully booked, and I still had a problem saying no at the time. So I was pretty much typically overbooked, okay? The canine chaos got so crazy sometimes that I had to take the hottest as I could possibly stand, hot Epsom salt baths at night, just to calm my nervous system down, because I would be stuck in fight or flight instead of rest and digest. And I couldn't get out of it. I literally could not get my body out of it without an extremely hot, hour-long, if not longer, Epsom salt bath at night. And that's if I could actually do so without the dogs barking and whining outside the door at the same time, or in their crates in the other room at the same time, if I had to crate them because of, safety reasons. And, full disclosure, I have certainly had times where I had to separate the dogs and escape to the bathroom or to the basement for 20, 30 minutes, whatever it was, just to take some deep breaths and try to drown out the noise, the chaos, and lower my stress levels. But, those times it just never felt like enough. And that is a rough position to be in. That is a tough position I don't want anyone to go through, because those are the moments where you start questioning whether you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. and they're completely avoidable. So you don't ever have to go there. Now, luckily, over the years, I have been able to reduce the canine chaos so much that I never get to this point any longer, thankfully. Thankfully, right? But it did take me a lot of time to figure out what worked, what didn't work, and how best to keep the peace more abundant than the chaos. So I'm hoping by discussing this with you today, I can give you the shortcuts to calming the chaos so that you can experience more peace more often, like I do. Okay, so let's get into the pivotal ways that I found to calm the canine chaos. Number one, lower social anxiety at hello. Right? This means have a system for introductions, one that eases each dog's nerves instead of increasing it. One of the reasons I stopped taking my dog to a large daycare facility is because they let him into a pack of, easily 50 plus dogs when he arrived, with no precautions in place whatsoever. They didn't get time to sniff each other through the fence, nothing like that. It was just like, boop, here you go. Survival of the fittest. Good luck, little buddy. Now, luckily, my dog was pretty fearless and extremely confident and just a master at socialization. In fact, he taught me a ton about dog socialization. So he seemed to do okay with it. But while this might be okay for well socialized or confident dogs, it can cause a lot of overwhelm and stress for dogs who aren't. And I found that by lowering their anxiety and minimizing the overwhelm of meeting a pack of dogs, it also helps to improve each dog's confidence within a pack. And this automatically reduces the risk of dog fights. So what does this spell? This spells a win-win for everyone. And if you've been listening to my podcast whatsoever for any length of time so far, then you know I am always looking for solutions that make everyone win. All right, so number 2, establish a routine. As you know, many dogs thrive on routine. I probably don't need to tell you that. Hopefully, you understand routine is best for canines. If you don't, that's okay. Now you do. The more you set in a routine, the more that the pack will begin to know when it's time to calm down and relax. And this includes nappy time too, which is always blissful for us dog sitters. You know, for us around here, I basically developed a routine that when you're outside, it's okay, have fun, bounce around, jump around, chase each other, go wild, have a blasty blast. When you come inside, we have to use our inside voices. We have to calm it down a notch or two. So when we're outside, yeah, okay, play to a level of a 7 excitement, okay? That's cool. But on the inside, we're playing more to a level of maybe 4 or 5 excitement and then chilling it out, okay? Because it's a smaller space. Everyone gets overwhelmed a little more. Dogs have less room to flight, which increases the anxiety in the room. So we just like to keep it a little even keel. And now that we've done this over a period of time consistently, being the key word, all of the dogs pretty much know the drill who have been coming here regularly, right? We have to train a new one as they come in, but they learn quickly because the pack teaches them too. Teaches them better than we do, right? So now they come inside and the level of excitement, the energy just comes down a few notches automatically, which is literally gold. It's like heaven on earth, okay? Okay, so let's go into number 3. Number 3 seems very self-explanatory, like duh, but I have come across dog sitters who don't do this. And I think often it's because they believe that by implementing this into their routine every day, it's going to be a lot more work and a lot harder to do. But the truth is, it actually makes your job easier. And that is to exercise their mind and body, right? This one is so huge because a lot of dog sitters might, I'm not sure, but I think some might get into dog sitting thinking that you could just, have fun cuddling on the couch with these cute little doggies all day while watching your favorite daytime talk show or, binging some series on Netflix or something. And then you got busy and then you got 5 or 6 dogs in your house at once and all of a sudden you realized that's not going to be possible because when you have 5 or 6 dogs and beyond in your house or even 4, sometimes 3, depending on the dogs, right? They're ready to go, right? They're excited. They're with their own kind. They're like, woohoo, it's potty time. Potty, potty, potty. They're having sleepovers with their friends. Like, what did you do? Did you go to a sleepover with your friend or a birthday party and just chill out on the couch? No, you had fun. And that's what the dogs are doing. They're coming and they're having fun because they're with their own kind. They're in a new environment. This is exciting. And they usually get to play. They get somebody who pays attention to them, maybe more than they even get at home sometimes. And they're ready to go. So in the morning times, especially, they're like Mach 10, right? But if you have hurdles and ramps, then there's things you could do to, if you're actively teaching them how to use them and use their body and get some exercise, whatever it is, give them exercise. And afterwards, you're going to see their level of excitement, their energetic levels are going to automatically decrease, if not 50%, at least 20 to 30%, which is huge. And, instead of trying to spend the entire day just entertaining them, playing fetch or, wrestling or getting them to play with each other or tug of war, whatever you come up with, then this way it helps add a mix of different activities, and it gives both their minds and their body a workout. And you'll find that they are much calmer after some exercise. And you'll find that it also further reduces fight risks, which in my book is number one, always top of my list. Because again, that's a win-win-win for everyone. Okay, all right, let's get into number 4. Have a system for arrivals and departures. We have all experienced dogs who snap at each other when the pack becomes overly excited, as I mentioned before. So actively take the precautions to prevent this behavior by incorporating cages, gates, window dressings, whatever you can do or think of. Try different things, see what works best for your situation. Now, I do caution you, the dogs will quickly learn your routine. So when you start to do the things you normally do to walk out the door for a dog who is arriving or getting picked up, they're going to be on high alert the second you begin to do those habitual behaviors, because they know human behavior better than us humans do, right? They observe and study us. That's like all they do, which makes me wonder, did they come to Earth wanting to be a dog because they wanted to study human behavior? Because I would say that is the best form to become, to study human behavior, so long as you're not stuck in a shelter or lost on the streets, right? Sadly. But anyways, I digress. I just had a new thought there I had to explore for a second out loud. I apologize. Let me get back to where I was. So we have all experienced this. Dogs go crazy. They know our routine as we go to walk out the door. And so what I have found that works best is to always get outside and be prepared before the chaos begins, right? And a lot of times I will do things in different orders, or I'll do one behavior that they're used to seeing me do before I head out the door. And then I'll stop and I'll do something else, or I'll sit down even. And then they're like, what? I mean, it really it's fun to kind of mess with them and throw them off, and they're like, what is she doing? I thought she was putting her shoes on to go outside. Why is she sitting down now? We're so confused, And so the more you can kind of throw them off your scent, so to speak, the better. And if you can get outside before the dog parent arrives, this is the best way to prevent yourself from having to deal with the chaos. Because even if you put a few dogs in a crate, maybe put a couple of dogs in a different room, especially the ones that are the wildest and the craziest, chances are you're still going to have a couple left over in the main living area where they can see you coming and going, and they can start barking. Or if they just see somebody outside, they can start barking, whatever. Or they hear somebody outside, whatever the case may be. So I found if I get outside first, a few minutes early, and the dogs go crazy, right? Everybody starts barking. And they start looking out the windows like, who's coming? Who's coming? Who's coming? Who's coming? What's going on? And you go outside, and then you kind of, tap, tap, tap. I almost did it now, but I know I'd wake up the dogs and they'd start barking. So if you tap, tap, tap on the door from the outside, then they're like, what was that? Right? And they all shut up for a second. And it works like a charm every time, I kid you not. Now, they might start barking again, which is fine. But a lot of times that slows them down and it just breaks up the energetic level and starts to help them self calm. And before you know it, they'll be quiet quicker. And then you can just, patiently set aside. I use this time to upload pictures and videos to my clients' albums, or to get back to a customer, or update my calendar, or do a post on social media, or whatever, right? I use this time to do something to work on my phone. And it's so easy to do. You just take your phone out with you and you can get some work done. Or I might even take treats out and I'll start like playing with the dog that's out there with me waiting for their paw parent to arrive. And I'll start teaching them or working with them in their basic command training. Or I'll throw a ball and just play with them for a few minutes of one-on-one play and bonding time. Whatever you have to do. But I'm sure you can come up with a million things that need done. You probably could be picking up poop. Oh my God, I could go on and on. See, there's just like a gazillion things you can do if you step outside a few minutes early. So do that and save yourself the stress and hassle of trying to get outside during the chaos and listening to everybody bark while you're inside with them. Now, this brings me to a very, very important point that it seems a lot of dog sitters struggle with at first. And I don't know. For me, I was just so focused and concerned about my neighbors getting upset with dogs barking that I was very strict with this from the get-go, and it's been extremely helpful over the years. But I would suggest to set up a no exceptions policy on the arrival times, like on the boundaries around arrival times with your customers, and or even letting you know their arrival times, right? And hold your customers to this. And I've literally had to tell a customer one more strike of just popping up unannounced, and I'm going to have to let you go, because this is the most important thing to me, is that I keep the dogs safe, that they don't get all crazy because I haven't had a chance to separate them safely yet, and or that they're not outside barking their heads off and unable to calm down because there's an intruder who has just arrived and the neighbors get upset and complain. So set up a no exceptions policy on this and hold your customers to it, to prevent the unnecessary barking and craziness. That is probably one of the best things I ever did. Okay, so number 5, let go of the highly anxious clients and just say no. If you have the dog sitter's curse, which is what I call the curse of putting all dogs' needs before your own because you care for them so much, then this can be a challenging thing to do. I get it, right? So, because most dog sitters have the dog sitter's curse, this is a common problem. But if you try everything under the sun to calm a dog, build their confidence, and ease their anxiety, and it's still not working, then there comes a point when you have to choose to let go of the dog as a customer. First and foremost, a dog having constant anxiety when under your care is clearly not in a healthy environment for that particular dog. Because, much like humans, stress takes a toll on a dog's health too. And if they can't handle that environment after a few days of learning the routine, getting the exercise, getting the mental exercise, getting all of their needs met, having boundaries, you name it, and they still can't seem to settle down, then obviously this is something they're not ready for. They might need more training. They might need more help with separation anxiety, whatever the case may be. But that goes above your pay grade, okay? Yes, you can offer to help with that. You can give them tips to handle that at home or recommend a trainer or something. But to do that while in a pack of multiple dogs is nearly impossible. You can't just throw them in a situation like that and expect them to learn. Usually they get into overwhelm and trauma so deeply that it's hard to bring them back out and to ease them into learning how to be confident in such a situation, or if you leave the room, right? So they need to work on that in baby steps before coming back to you. In addition to this, you are responsible for the entire pack under your care. And by continuing to allow a dog into the pack whose energy excessively excites everyone else, including you, is a recipe for disaster and, you guessed it, constant canine chaos. I remember early on when I started dog sitting, I had this dog here. Gosh, I wish I could remember her breed. She was so unique. It was a breed you don't see very often. So when I met her, I was like, oh, she's so cool looking. She's so awesome. Like, I immediately fell in love with her. And I really wanted it to work out, although they did tell me, she was a bit, nervous and shy and stuff like that, which she was. And we had her here a couple of times, I think it was, before she came for boarding. I can't remember if I'd started that or not yet, honestly. I might not have even started doing that yet. So she may have just come day one without a test day or anything. And she was so deathly afraid of everybody, everything, every noise. I mean, this dog was on the biggest high alert 24/7. She was so stuck in fear and fight. It was sad. It was so sad. And if I just put her in a crate to give her a chance to, have a safe space, even if it was in another room, she would just whine loudly and bark uncontrollably. She would flip out even more. And nothing I did would calm her down. She wouldn't even go outside. We'd have the big French doors wide open. All of the dogs would be playing, having a good time, running in and out. Some of them might be sunbathing on the deck. And this dog would pee in the house over in the corner where she tried to make herself invisible in, just because she was so afraid to even go outside to do her business, even though it was like 20 feet away, right? Even after all of the dogs went home from daycare and we'd just have a few dogs here, she would still be stuck in this extremely high level of fight or flight, fear, just survival freak out mode. And it was just so sad. I mean, I wanted to help her so badly. I tried everything I knew and it just wasn't working. She was just not comfortable here, and nothing I did was helping her. So I had the fun task of politely and professionally finding a way to inform her parents at pickup that she probably wouldn't do well coming back here ever again unless she got help and improved, and that maybe she would be a good candidate to have an in-home center, in her own home if her parents had to go on vacation again. And I even went so far as to recommend that they get her massage therapy or even acupuncture, because when I tried to massage her muscles along her spine a bit. I'd had a previous dog massage therapist show me some ways to massage dogs and to loosen up their tight muscles. And I went to do this to her backside along her spine, and I have never felt a dog so tense in my life that I don't think just a simple massage was going to do the trick. I actually thought acupuncture would be the only thing to help break it up and loosen up the stiff tissue, because I think she'd just been in extreme fear her whole life and anxiety. God knows what happened to that poor baby. So her parents luckily did take me very seriously, knowing that she was an extremely anxious dog already. They totally believed me, and they did get her into therapy, and they actually got her into acupuncture with a holistic vet in town. So last I heard, she was actually doing a little better. That was loosening her up and making her relax a little bit. So I tell you this story not to, show you like how cool I am, like I helped this dog, whatever, but to show you that even the difficult things like saying no or letting go of a dog can result into a good thing, right? That can become a good thing. Um, it's just letting go isn't always a bad thing, right? It may feel like it at the time, but when it results in something that's better for the dog in the long run, it's a good thing. So just remember that as motivation to help you do those uncomfortable conversations. All right, let's move on to number 6. Number 6 is learn and apply dog psychology and communication. The more you can learn about canine communication, dog psychology, or even how wolves or wild dogs behave in the wild, the better you'll be at being able to fulfill each dog's needs, communicate with them, and establish yourself as the natural pack leader so that all dogs under your care can easily fall into the follow position. Now, this one is really huge, so please don't take it lightly. This one is really about trying different things out, always gathering more information and training and education on the subject for yourself. And, don't be afraid to try different things, especially with different dogs, because not all dogs actually react the same way as other dogs, right? So you have to change up your methods and see what works for each individual dog sometimes. This can be a highly controversial subject. I get it. There seems to be like a silent war that goes on amongst dog handlers and trainers as to which ways are the best ways to train a dog or communicate with a dog. I can't tell you how many times I've offered just some, simple advice about, communicating with a dog on a Facebook group when somebody posted a question or something, to get like haters coming back at me and like calling me names because I say like things like, you have to establish yourself as the leader. Like all of a sudden they took that to mean like you're beating the dog into submission, which is something I never said. Don't do that. Right. So there's a lot of controversy on the subject. And what I say to that is follow your instincts, have an open mind, and just try different things to see what works best for you and your fur packs. Don't worry about what anyone else thinks. As long as you're not harming the dogs, traumatizing the dogs, and you're doing the very best you can, and you're always improving your skills, that's the best you can do. All right? All right. So don't overbook yourself. Okay, this is number 7. Don't overbook yourself. This is one of the best ways to calm the canine chaos, obviously, right? But the underlying thing when it comes to this is that you have to charge your value, your worth, the business's value, the worth of the business, so that you don't have to overbook yourself, right? This was the biggest mistake that I made during my early days. And I didn't understand at that time how much work it was to care for dogs 24 hours a day, how much energy it required of me. I didn't take into account the damage to my home, my floors, my furniture, the yard, everything, the blinds, the window blinds, the bed, everything, right? I am sure if you have been dog sitting for any length of time, you understand how quickly dogs can destroy your property. So I have spent thousands of dollars on furniture covers, waterproof furniture covers, cleaning supplies, yard maintenance, new blinds, new furniture, and don't even talk about the laundry, because this business requires a lot of laundry, and I don't know about you, but that laundry detergent isn't very cheap these days, now is it? And this means more wear and tear on your washer and dryer, which means you can expect to replace them a lot more often than the average household as well. Then, if you hire helpers, of course, you have to pay them too. And then don't forget that you have an endless supply of dog toys that you're constantly going through, that you're constantly purchasing. You have dog beds, leashes, harnesses, treats, bowls, and the list goes on and on and on, right? It also doesn't take into account time off. If you don't charge enough to afford to take vacation on occasion, then guess what? You don't take vacation. You don't even take a staycation. And we all need a break from time to time, no matter what we do. And I know I don't have to convince you of that. All right, so now I'm on to my number 8, the final and last tip I have for you today to calming the canine chaos. And that is to set up boundaries for the dogs and stick to them. Implementing dog gates, crates, you name it, for safety, for easeability, has a major impact on the canine chaos. This one I'm, guilty of. It took me forever. I'm sad to say, for my own detriment, I'm sad to say that it took me forever to figure this out, that if I installed a permanent gate to block off the kitchen, I could actually cook and clean the kitchen much easier. Because then I could control how many, if any, paws were under my feet. I mean, how many times are you trying to get stuff done and you're like, you take one step to the right and you're like, okay, move. Okay, just one step to the left. Okay, scooch. Okay, now you got to turn around and there's, oh, wait, okay, watch out. And you got to wait for that dog to get out of your way. I mean, you can't get anything done when every single time it's go stop, right? So put up a gate and go about your business and get her done without any paws under your feet. And then you don't have to worry about stepping on those little tiny paws that are the cutest little things in the world, right? Making life, making chores so much easier. Now, of course, I put up gates for, feeding times. Make sure to feed them separately to, of course, reduce more canine chaos and prevent any food aggression. But I don't know why it took me forever to figure out to put a gate up permanently so that I could actually utilize it for my daily chores. Anywho, these are some of the main ways that I was able to calm the canine chaos over the years. And they've really helped me to massively reduce the burnout and bring peace back into my home, which was something I didn't have for a while and is really difficult to not have in your own home when that's the only place you can go to find it usually. And it also helped me to do this by earning a comfortable living at the same time and having a life, being able to go do the things that are important to me or see the loved ones that are important to me. So what would your life look like if the dogs in your home knew the routine and were sufficiently fulfilled to the point of being snuggle ready by the time you're ready to recharge and snuggle? How would you feel if you didn't have to worry about dogs fighting or listen to that high-pitched whining and barking all day long? Just imagine the ripple effects this would have on your life and those around you. Imagine how satisfied your fur packs would be and how fast they'll be running back to see you every time they return. I am so thankful to be at this point of peace and balance between my business and my life. And I hope that this podcast episode helps you calm the canine chaos a lot quicker than I did, so that you can also have peace and balance between your business and your life. And speaking of being thankful, today just happens to be Thanksgiving in the United States. So I'm off to enjoy some turkey and think of all the things I am grateful for about my business and beyond. Thanks for listening, and until next time, happy tales to you.